So the Lord, in the incarnation of Varaha, has delivered the earth from within the water, as mentioned, as discussed in the previous verse. So because he lifted the earth from the water, so his body also became wet. So generally when body is wet, so especially the Lord who is incarnate in the form of boar, so boar has very piercing hairs on his body, so that the some of the water droplets from those tip of the hair from the shoulder, I think volume can be reduced, from the shoulder of the so from the tip of the shoulder of the Lord, so it sprinkled on the inhabitants of Jana, Tapas and Satya, and now they are glorifying the Supreme Lord, that even though we are the inhabitants of these three planets, they are known as the most pious planets in this material world. So even though we are very pious, but because of the sprinkling of the water drops from the hairs of your shoulder hair, so we have become even more purified. So the Lord lifted Mother Earth from the nether regions, which was submerged within the water. And after that, when the Lord was lifting Mother Earth, the denizens, the inhabitants of the higher planetary systems headed by Lord Brahma, so they were able to see the wonderful form of the Lord and they are offering prayers. So today it's a continuation of their prayers where they are saying, vidhunvatā vedamayaṁ nijaṁ vapur. Here, again they are glorifying the Supreme Lord's body as vedamayaṁ, the personified Vedas, and nijaṁ vapur. Nijaṁ means your own vapur body. So your body is actually is a personified Vedas and is transcendental. And janas-tapaḥ-satya-nivāsino vayam. Jana-tapaḥ-satya-nivāsina means residents. Vayam, we. We as the residents of Janar-loka, Tapa-loka and Satya-loka. So, saṭā-śikhoddhūta-śivāmbu-bindubhir. Shiva means very auspicious. Ambu means water. Bindubhir, the droplets of water. So, which were from the hair of the shoulder of the Lord Varaha. When it was sprinkled, vimṛjyamānā bhṛśam pāvitāḥ. Vimṛjyamānā means, proper translate sir, the water which was sprinkled. The sprinkling is known as vimṛjyamānā. Bhṛśam pāvitāḥ. We became purified by those water droplets which fell from the transcendental body, especially the hair from the hairs of the shoulders of the Lord Varaha. So these three planets are known as the most pious planets in the material world. So why is it so? They are the most pious planets. To understand this, so we have to understand how the planets are placed in this universe. So let us consider one universe which we are living. So where the Chaturmukha Brahma is the head or predominating deity, who is the supreme living being in this universe. So in that there are 14 planetary systems. So lower, middle and upper planetary systems. So middle one is the Bhur-loka, where we are all situated, where we are all living. And above is Bhuvar, then Swarga, then above Swarga is Mahar-loka, then above Mahar-loka is Jana-loka, Tapa-loka and Satya-loka. So above Bhu, there are three more planets, and then above that, upper planets known as Jana, Tapa and Satya. So these constitute middle and upper planetary systems, total 7 planets. And below are the lower planetary systems, starting from which one? Athala, Vithala, Suthala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Talatala and Patala. So these are the 7 lower planetary systems. So these 14 put together is known as one universe, which Brahma has created, because universes actually comes from the bodily hairs of Mahavishnu. So within that one universe, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is there. So from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Brahma has taken birth. So in that one universe, this is how the planetary systems are situated. So in those planetary systems, what happens? Why this only the uppermost three planets are known as the most pious ones? So to understand this, in the same canto 11th chapter, the calculation of time from the atom. So there about these different planetary systems, how they are situated, how they are created, how they are annihilated, that thing is being explained. So in the 26th verse of the 11th chapter of this canto, it is said, in the creation during Brahma's day, the pre-planetary systems, Swarga, Martya and Patala, revolve, and the inhabitants, including lower animals, human beings, demigods and pitas, appear and disappear in terms of their fruitive activities. So pitas also is mentioned. Pitas means pitas. Where do they actually reside? They reside in the Boar loka planetary systems. That's predominantly predominated by Pitrus are the pitas. And then in the Maharloka, Bhrigu and other different sages, they reside. So this here in this context, it is mentioned that the three planetary systems, Swarga, Martya and Patala. So Patala is the 7 planetary systems. So Martya is the earthly planetary systems, and Swarga is Boar and Swarga Loka. So these 2 planetary systems is considered as that. So next verse it is said, in each and every change of Manu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears by manifesting his internal potency. So it's a Supreme Lord. In every millennium he appears. And then at the end of the day, end of whose day? Brahma's day, under the significant portion of the mode of darkness, the powerful manifestation of the universe merges in the darkness by night. By the influence of eternal time, the innumerable living entities remain merged in the dissolution and everything is silent. So what happens in that during the night of Brahma? So all these 3 planetary systems, as mentioned in the previous verse, Swarga, Martya and Patala. So Patala, Martya is earthly planetary system, Swarga is above earth is Boar Loka, then Swarga Loka. So these 3 planetary systems, they all get submerged because of the influence of ignorance, dissolution. In that what happens? In that creation during Brahma's day, 3 planetary systems, when the night of Brahma ensues, all the 3 worlds are out of sight and the sun and moon are without glare, just as in the due course of an ordinary night. Like how we experience night, there is no sunlight. So sometimes we face moonlight, but during that night of Brahma, there is no even moonlight. It's completely dark. So it doesn't mean that sun and moon are without the glare. They are actually dissipating their heat and light as per their schedule, but that is visible only in the upper 4 planetary systems, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka and Satyaloka. So what happened to Maharloka? So when further it is explained, the devastation takes place due to fire emanating from the mouth of Sankarshan, and thus great sages like Bhrigu and other inhabitants of Maharloka transport themselves to Janaloka, being distressed by the warmth of the blazing fire which rages through the 3 worlds below. So during the night, Boar Loka and Swarga Loka, 3 planets are completely, they are submerged in darkness. There is no sunlight, there is no moonlight, and fire emanates from the mouth of Sankarshana. It is so huge that everything becomes burnt to ashes. Everything is actually burnt to ashes. That is like in the same chapter it is mentioned that for how many years the fire emanates from mouth of Sankarshana? For 36,000 years. There is a continuous blazing fire emanating from the mouth of Sankarshana, and after this what happens? For another 36,000 years, there is a torrents of rain. Then Prabhupada says that like in this we experience whenever there is a excessive heat in the daytime, it is always followed by a rain to cool the temperature. So then it's all burnt to ashes. Then there is for next 36,000 years again there is torrents of rain. Everything is submerged. Then further next day arrives, then Brahma starts creation. So further it is mentioned, at the beginning of the devastation, all the seas overflow and hurricanes winds blow very violently. Thus the waves of the seas become ferocious, and in no time at all the 3 worlds are full of water. After a burning, so there is hurricane and water. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead lies down in the water on the seat of Ananta. with his eyes closed, and the inhabitants of Janaloka planets offer their glorious prayers unto the Lord with folded hands. So why? Because even the inhabitants of Maharloka also, they have moved upwards. They don't actually die as such. There is no annihilation for them, but they are able to feel the fire from the three below planetary systems, Swarga, Bhuvarloka and Bhurloka. So they transport themselves to Janaloka. So they offer prayers to whom? Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Then, thus the process of exhaustion of the duration of life exists for every one of the living beings, including Lord Brahma. One's life endures only for 100 years in terms of the times in different planets. Brahma also lives for 100 years. Even a small ant also lives for 100 years. But only the time scale is different. So this is how these 14 planetary systems are situated. Some are annihilated towards the end of each day of Brahma. Some are annihilated at the end of the Brahma's lifetime, when Brahma completes his 100 years of his lifetime. So then all the planetary systems, including Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka and Satyaloka, all the planets and their residents, they all are annihilated, including those planets. So that's then, next what happens is the fresh creation which comes out. So here, in this verse it is mentioned that they are considered to be these three planetary system, the residents are considered to be the most pious. Why is that so? They are the most pious. So even though they are in the material world, like Prabhupada in the Purport mentions in this verse, that these three planets, the Tapas and Satya lokas, are the most pious persons in the material world. But because those planets are situated in the material world, there are also so many material impurities there also. So even in those planets, there are some material impurities. Prabhupada here mentions there are so many material impurities. But compared to the other 4 planetary systems or another 7 lower planetary systems, the material impurities are very, very, very less. Why is that so? Why it is so less? So that to understand this, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter about Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. So Krishna explains, Shreyan Dravyamayad Yajnat Jnana Yajna Parantapa Sarva Karma Kilam Bharta Jnane Parisampyayate. So translation, O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice of knowledge is greater than the sacrifice of material possessions. So the sacrifice of material possession means it is basically karma, fruitive activities. Sacrificing of fruitive activities is known as karma kanda or karma yoga. So in the 3rd chapter, Krishna explains, Yajnartat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Everyone has to work for Krishna. One cannot say, no, I don't work at all. What happens? Every living entity in this world is working. For what? For fruitive activity, to fulfill his desires. But Karma Yoga, what Krishna recommends is that Lokoyam Karma Bandhanaha. One has to work for Krishna. One has to offer the results of that work to Krishna. That is known as Karma Yoga. So, but Krishna, next level principle Krishna is establishing that the sacrifice of knowledge is greater than the sacrifice of material possessions. That is, Jnana Yoga is greater than Karma Yoga. Then further Krishna says, O son of Pruta, after all, the sacrifice of work culminates in transcendental knowledge. So why Jnana Yoga is better than Karma Yoga? Because after all, the sacrifice of work culminates in transcendental knowledge. Finally, even the sacrifice of work, that means Karma Yoga, also culminates in transcendental knowledge. Ultimately, everything should lead to the attainment of the transcendental knowledge. So once one attains the transcendental knowledge, what happens? He becomes completely free from the dualities of this material world. He becomes free from the 3 kinds of tribulations of this world, and he is eligible to go back to Godhead. So, why these 3 planetary systems are considered most pious? Like here, everything should actually culminate in attaining the transcendental knowledge. So these 3 planetary systems, the residents, they're always engaged in attaining this transcendental knowledge. Whatever sacrifice they are doing, they are very clear that they should attain transcendental knowledge. They are not interested in any other result, temporary result or fruitive result. But whereas in other below another 11 planetary systems or 4 middle planetary systems, in those planets, the living entities, whatever activity they do, whatever sacrifice they do, it's predominantly to satisfy their desires. But whereas in these three higher planetary systems, they are very clear that we should work for attaining, we should actually sacrifice everything for attainment of the transcendental knowledge. That's why here Prabhupada mentions, even though there are so many material impurities, but still they are considered as the most pious. They are almost purified. That is the reason even the residents of Maharloka, when there is a dissolution of the lower three planets, they are able to move themselves to Janaloka. So they are equipped with that kind of facility. They can even interplanetary travel they can do. Why? Because they are engaged for a higher purpose, for cultivation of knowledge. That's why they are mentioned here as the most pious planetary systems. So in like when we were discussing about annihilation, so second canto Srimad Bhagavatam explains about three kinds of annihilation. So the first kind of annihilation is by the time factor, which is the constant factor and which is annihilating at every moment. What time factor is doing? Time, if each second passed, that means that we have become less than 1 second in our lifetime. Suppose 1 day has passed, 2 days has passed, 1 month has passed. Now in another few days, this year is going to get completed. New year will come. New Christian calendar year will come. So that means that in our duration, in our lifetime, we have been reduced by 1 more year, 1 more day, 1 more month, 1 more second. So Kala is actually the first annihilator, is constantly diminishing, constantly annihilating all the created beings in this world. Then second kind of annihilation is in that second canto it is mentioned that Kala, at every moment, time invisibly transforms the bodies of all created beings and all other manifestations of matter. This process of transformation caused the living entity to undergo constant annihilation of birth and death. So birth and death itself is a constant annihilation, the first step of annihilation. The second one is that about Brahma's night, that is known as Naimittika Pralaya or Naimittika annihilation. 1000 cycles of 4 ages constitute 1 day of Brahma. How it is 1000? There are 72 Mahayugas, 72 and multiplied by 71 or 72 approximately it comes to that. So this 4 lakh that Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga and Kali Yuga. So that entire cycle. So that multiplied by 72, that comes to 1008. So that's approximately calculated as 1000 cycles of 4 ages. 1000 cycles of 4 ages. That means 72 Manus are there in the day of Brahma. So they constitute 1 day of Brahma, and each day of Brahma, called a Kalpa, contains with it the lifetimes of 14 Manus. The duration of Brahma's night is same as that of his day. During his night, Brahma sleeps and the 3 planetary systems meet destruction. This is called Naimittika or occasional. This is occasional. Time one is considered as the constant, continuous annihilation. So this Naimittika is an occasional annihilation. Then third one is when Brahma's lifespan of 100 years is finished, there occurs Prakritika or total material manifestation. So this is also actually occasional only. It doesn't happen very regularly as such. Only after the 100 years of Brahma's lifetime. So this is known as Prakritika. Then fourth kind of annihilation, which is called as a final annihilation. So very, very important for devotees, for all living entities, especially for devotees. The fourth one is that at the time of 7 elements of matter, at the time when the total material manifestation happens, at that time the 7 elements of material nature, beginning with Mahat, and the entire universal egg composed of them are destroyed. Entire universal structure, everything is destroyed because everything goes and merges into the body of Mahavishnu. When a person achieves knowledge of the Absolute, he understands factual reality. He perceives the entire created universe as separate from the Absolute and therefore unreal. So when a person is able to see this destruction, when he sees that everything is getting annihilated, and then he realizes that whatever is the created universe is separate from the Absolute. This is not actually Bhutva bhutva praliyate. Bhagavad Gita Krishna says it is created and annihilated. Created and annihilated. So it is real, but it is temporary. So when a living entity, when a person understands then it is called as when he understands universe as separate from absolute and therefore unreal, that is called as atyantika or final annihilation. This is known as liberation. When one understands that this material world is temporary, even though it is real, but it is temporary. It is created and annihilated. So there is no factual existence for living entities in this world. It's a temporary world. So when he understands that, then he is completely become free from all tribulations. That is known as atyantika or the final annihilation. So the denizens of these three planetary systems, they are almost in that stage. So mostly what happens, these three planetary systems, when the Brahma's 100-day, when his complete lifetime, the duration of life ends, so most of the denizens, the residents of these planetary systems, they understand, they realize this, and they go back to Godhead along with Lord Brahma, if he is qualified enough. So then further, in the Purport, Prabhupada mentions that therefore, when the drops of water from the tips of the Lord's shoulder hairs were sprinkled upon the bodies of the inhabitants of the higher planets, they felt purified. So the Ganges water is pure because of its emanating from the toe of the Lord, and there is no difference between water emanating from the toe and that from the tip of the hair on the shoulder of the Lord Boar. So even though the Lord Boar, generally the boar or hog, is considered as an untouchable or abominable species of animals. It is not something which everyone would like to keep it in their house like a pet animal. No, it is not so. So people don't like to keep. But that doesn't mean that the incarnation of the Lord is also like that. The incarnation of the Lord is actually transcendental, as it is mentioned that vedamayaṁ nijaṁ vapur, the form of the Lord, even though he has appeared in the form of in the body of a boar, but it is vedamayaṁ. It's a personification of the Vedas and is transcendental. There are so many things in this world, which looks very contradictory. Sometimes, those who really want to argue with those who, with the devotees or with the religion, those who are followers of religion, they quote certain things. Like in the Shastras, it is mentioned that the stool of an animal, stool or urine of an animal, is untouchable. Suppose if one happens to touch that stool or urine of an animal, one should take bath. Similarly, is the bone or any of the bodily parts of a dead animal, that also should not be touched. If it is touched, we should take bath. But whereas on contrary to that, the cow dung, which is a stool of an animal, the cow urine, which is a urine of mother cow, or the conch shell what we use, it's a bone of an animal. So they are considered as the purest. We touch every day. We even cow dung and cow urine is used for purifying the impure things. Whenever there is some impurity, so we use them actually. So this looks contradiction. Actually, it is not contradiction. Vedas, yes, general principle is mentioned, but there are exceptions also. So like here, the Prabhupada in the very first line of the Purport mentions, ordinarily body of hog is considered impure, but one should not consider that hog incarnation assumed by the Lord is also impure. It is not so. Similarly, the water droplets which fell from the shoulder hair of the Lord, they were so pure. It's compared to the Ganges water. What is Ganges water basically? It's a water from the Viraja river, from the Garbhodaka ocean. So when Lord Vamana, he lifted his leg to cover all the upper planetary systems. So the toe of the Lord, the leg was growing so huge. It pierced through. He was in Boar Loka. It went to Boar Loka, Swarga Loka, Mahar Loka, Jana Loka, Tapa Loka, then up to Satya Loka. Then Brahma and other denizens were able to see the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So then Brahma, what did he do? He started worshipping the Lord's lotus feet using the water from his Kamandalu. So he washed the Lord's lotus feet. And also the Lord's toe pierced through the covering of the material world, covering of the universe. So when it is pierced through, so the water from the Viraja river, from the Garbhodaka ocean, it started leaking into this universe, and also through the by touching through the, coming down through the lotus feet of Lord Vamana. So that's why, for two reasons. One is that Lord Brahma himself, from the water of his Kamandalu, he washed the feet of the Lord. And second thing, the Garbhodaka, water from Garbhodaka ocean started flowing down after washing the lotus feet of Lord Vamana. So that's why Mother Ganges is considered as the most, most pure in this world. And it's also mentioned that Mother Ganges flows through all the 14 planetary systems within this universe. So here, the water which fell from the Lord Boar's, Varahadev's bodily hairs, it is as good as pure as water from the Mother Ganges. So that's why the denizens became they felt that they are purified. Vimṛjyamānā bhṛśam isha pāvitāḥ. They felt so purified, and then they started further glorification of the Supreme Lord. So in one of the lecture to the 7th canto, which is Prahlad Maharaj, Narasimha Deva and Prahlad Maharaj pastime. So Prahlad Maharaj prayers. So when delivering lecture, Prabhupada mentions an important aspect for a devotee, that what is important in devotional service for a devotee. So Prabhupada mentions that it is with respect to that where there are so many dangers. Prahlad Maharaj is teaching to his schoolmates that there are so many dangers in this world. We should not waste our life just like this playing. And Prahlad Maharaj actually lists out there are how many days actually left for, if at all you want to practice devotional service. He recounts that, these many days are gone in sleeping, these many days are gone in childhood, these many days are gone in playing. Like that, Prahlad Maharaj lists out in that chapter. So in that for that verse, Prabhupada is delivering lecture. Prabhupada mentions, very cautiously and intelligently, we have to make progress in spiritual life. Don't take it very insignificantly. We should be very much careful. Otherwise, there is fall down. And once fall down means a gap of millions of years. You have got this human form of life to complete Krishna consciousness. But if you are not serious, then again the gap will be millions of years. Why there is a gap of millions of years? Fall down, because we suchinam shrimatam gehe yogyo bhrashtabhi jayate. So our the consciousness which we have at the time of leaving the body, accordingly we'll get the new body. So the new body will be based on the activities which we have done. Suchinam shrimatam gehe. But what happens after falling down? There are very, very less chances. Not necessary that we will become Krishna conscious. We will be born in the Krishna conscious family again, because there are so many allurements in this material world. There are so many distractions. So because of the distractions, one may have to suffer so many lifetimes again. That's why Prabhupada is saying there is a gap of millions of years, lakhs of years, because we have to then one fine day Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Krupaya Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. One fine day again, when we become somehow accidentally, when we come in touch with a pure devotee, or if we become serious enough, Paramatma will understand our eagerness, then he will guide us towards a pure devotee. So then we will restart our spiritual life. Till then, we don't know how many lifetimes we have to take. Then further Prabhupada continues in that lecture. Therefore, our duty is Tandera Charanasei Bhakta Sanevas. We should live with the devotees and engage in the service of the acharyas. So we should live in the association of devotees. So this verse, that Tandera Charanasei Bhakta Sanevas, it's a stanza from one of the Vaishnava songs. Every day, most of the day in the morning during Mangalarti we sing Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya. So we chant up to 6 Goswamis glorification, Shirupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath. So this actually the prayer continues, because Prabhupada because morning we don't have sufficient time, so we sing only till there, but it continues. Echai Gosair koi charana vandan jaha hoite bignanash abhishta puran. Echai Gosair jar mui tharadas tasabhara padarenu mora panchagras. So here Acharyas, they are praying that the 6 Goswamis, the lotus dust from the 6 Goswamis will actually is helpful, is very much required to attain the pure devotional service. So then next verse comes, Tandera charana sevi bhakta sanevas janama janama hoy yei abhilash. So we as devotees, what should we aspire is that Tandera charana say bhakta sanevas, association of the devotees, living in the association of devotees. That then janama janama hoy yei abhilash, life after life, this is my only desire. This is what we are supposed to be aspiring. Why is it? Why? Very important. Whether in this world or even after going back to Godhead, we have to live with the devotees only. There is no concept of nirjana bhajana or sitting alone. Even if you are in the shantarasa, you are sitting there. You are in the shantarasa means you are in the spiritual world. Someone would have born as a tree or a rock or as a mountain, but there are so many other mountains nearby, there are so many other stones nearby, there are so many other trees nearby. Ultimately, we have to live with devotees. So this is the training. So this is the training that we should learn to live with the devotees. This is the desire. This should be the desire. This is like acharyas, they are praying, Janama Janama hoy yei abhilash. Life after life, this is what I desire. So this is what we have to cultivate. Live in the association of devotees, live among devotees and learn how to perform devotional service in the midst of devotees. Yes, there will be some inconveniences. There will be some difficulties. Community living means some challenges will be there. But we have to learn how to live in the in that challenges only. One devotee has written one poem. It's in the form of a poetry in English. So in essence, it was that a devotee has gone back to spiritual world. He is standing at the gate of Golok Vrindavan, and then he is surprised. His eyes are wide open, like when we are surprised. जब बहुत आश्चर्य हो जाते करीब almost like a sadma lag gaya. He is so surprised that why is he so surprised? He is seeing Krishna, he is seeing Narada Muni, he is seeing Prabhupada, and he is seeing so many other devotees who are there with him in this temple. He is recounting, how can this devotee be here, who was never good towards me, who always give troubles to me, that temple president who always used to terrorize me, that service coordinator who never was good towards me, that kirtaniya, how can they be in this spiritual world sitting with Prabhupada like this? And similarly, he is surprised. Similarly, the devotees, those who are sitting inside, they are also surprised. How can this devotee be coming to the spiritual world? How can be in the entrance of Vaikuntha or Golok Vrindavan? Both are equally surprised. Both are equally shocked. So that's how, because we consider that these are inconveniences, but actually we have to learn how to live with these inconveniences, or we have to turn those inconveniences into advantages in devotional service, because life after life we have to live with the devotees. That is the reason Prabhupada instituted an organization. Actually, till Bhakti Vinod Thakur, there was no concept of this organized way of preaching as such. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur actually envisioned, through Namhatta preaching centers, he envisioned that preaching should happen in an organized way, through organization. That concept was further developed by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the form of Gaudiya Math. That further was expanded throughout the whole world in the form of ISKCON by Srila Prabhupada. Why Prabhupada created ISKCON? One of the 7 purposes of ISKCON, to give facility for all the people in general to practice Krishna consciousness. How to practice Krishna, how to follow instructions of Krishna in the association of devotees. That's why Prabhupada created this institution. So the institution is nothing but actually it's a training center for us to how to live, how to render our devotional service eternally even after going back to Godhead. So there is one conversation with one of the prominent freedom fighter of that time. His name is C. Rajagopala Acharya. Shortly is known as Rajaji. So his full name is Rajagopala Acharya. He was one of the freedom fighter. He was very close associate of Mahatma Gandhi. So he's a Tamilian. So after all the independence movement towards his advanced stage, he was living in Chennai. So devotees, as part of the PR, they would go and meet all the prominent people of the city. Like we go and meet, influential people, prominent people. So they had gone and had cultivated Rajgopalachari. So devotees had developed a very good rapport with him. So when Prabhupada visited Chennai in 1972, so Prabhupada was taken to Rajgopalachari. So it's a long conversation. Rajgopalachari also was a governor of West Bengal. So in that conversation, Prabhupada recalls that, yes, you are governor of West Bengal. And he also recalls very fondly, yes, people were very nice. I know of during that Hindu-Muslim riots, how Kolkata suffered a lot. And after that, how Kolkata rebuilt its own culture and glory. So all those conversation happens. So in the midst of the conversation, Rajaji, who is a very intellectual person, so he puts forth different questions to Prabhupada. So one of the question was that, I'll come to the directly, I'll skipping the some part of the conversation. Rajaji, the Gita Acharya, that further some distinctions are, indistinct discussions are there. But the question which I have put to Giriraj Swami, who was temple president of Bombay temple. So looks like he was looking after Chennai Center also. So he was the one who was actually cultivating Rajaji very closely. The question which I put to Giriraj was whether it would not have been better if you work from inside rather than make yourself a separate cult and organization. Separate organization, once you form it, becomes like a person who is born. He gets his attachment, his ego, his everything. Just like when a person is born. So he develops some attachment. My father, my family, my nation, my country, my community. So instead of becoming detached from this world, he develops more and more attachment. Similarly, the meaning of instituting an organization, that means you are giving an opportunity for your disciples to become more and more attached to organization. And he is also referring, because he worked so closely with Mahatma Gandhi in the freedom movement, he also understands what are the limitations of an organization. Politics, material management, infighting, so many problems will be there in the organization. So lot of energy, lot of resources and energy of a person goes into the solving these problems in an organization. So why you constitute an organization? You should have preached independently. So this is the question Rajaji has put forward to Srila Prabhupada. The organization should succeed better than other organizations. There is some organization. So the egoistic weakness applies to organizations also. The egoistic weaknesses applies to organization also. Further is questioning. Therefore, I was wondering whether it would not be if you had convinced that your mission was to spread Gita Acharya's teachings. Is referring to Gita Acharya's teachings means Krishna's teachings. Gita Acharya's teachings as to how to act with detachment and with faith in the grace of God. Where you go wrong could not have been better done without making yourself separate. So Prabhupada is answering, no, the thing is, when there is detachment, there must be another attachment. Detachment, you cannot say vairagya, vairagya, vairagya. No, there has to be some attachment for some other thing. It is not something vacant, it is not something void. Rajaji, yes, to God. Attachment to God. Prabhupada, yes, but that is required. That is required. Just like then Rajaji quoted Tiruvallur, one of the poet from a famous poet from Tamil language. So then for Rajaji, if you wish to live without detachment, attach yourself to God. Prabhupada, yes. So Prabhupada is saying, Param drishtva nivartate. Prabhupada, Param drishtva nivartate. After getting good attachment, one gives up inferior attachment. Good attachment means superior attachment. Then one gives up inferior attachment. Right? That will be better, right? The attachment should be to God. Rajaji is telling attachment should be to God. Prabhupada is specifically telling Krishna. Rajaji, Krishna or Govinda, as I will call him, because he's a South Indian. So Govinda is a popular Srinivas Govinda. Today is Vaikuntha Ekadashi also. So he is referring to Krishna or Govinda as I call him. Prabhupada, yes, not an issue. Rajaji, attachment should be to Govinda, not to an organization. Again he is bringing, Prabhupada said, somewhere if you want to develop detachment, you have to attach yourself to somewhere. Something, somewhere means what? Something which is superior, and give up the inferior attachment. So he is telling attachment to Govinda, not to an organization. But important point which Prabhupada is bringing here, Prabhupada, yes, Govinda is absolute. Govinda and Govinda's organization, the same. Govinda is absolute. So Govinda and his organization, like how Prabhupada is establishing, organization in particular is ISKCON, Hare Krishna movement. It's also absolute because it is Govinda's. The organization is meant for what? To develop attachment for Govinda. Organization is not to cater to our puja labha pratishtha. Yes, of course, we all have to different degree puja labha pratishtha. These are weeds. These are anarthas we have. But ultimately, we have to give up these anarthas and develop attachment for superior thing, that is to Lord Krishna. So that is what. So Govinda and Govinda's organization, they are absolute. Rajaji, I don't want to discuss it. I told you I am not competent to discuss. I am just telling you what I think. But Prabhupada, further, no, I am also answering this point. Just like Krishna, his name, his form, his pastimes, his entourage, they are all same. Otherwise, what is the benefit of chanting Krishna's name? Suppose if I am thirsty just now, if I simply chant the name of water, 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 I will not be satisfied. Water is required, actual substance. But when we chant Krishna, if Krishna's name is different from Krishna, it is not different from Krishna. Krishna's name, so Krishna's name, his form, his activity and his organizations, they are not different. So how Prabhupada constituted this, the worldwide organization? Prabhupada says, I have created a home where the whole world can come and live. So Prabhupada, when he says that, he literally means that the whole world can come and live. So that Prabhupada, in fact, in this conversation itself, Prabhupada tells to Rajaji that, we have so many centers, we are spending so much money to maintain this center, we have these many devotees. And Rajaji asks, where from you are getting money? Prabhupada says, Krishna is sending every month, we have, our expenses is this much, and without any difficulty, without any much struggle, we are getting what is required. And whatever is excess, that we are utilizing for further enhancement or expansion of the preaching mission. So how Krishna is actually maintaining, how the resources are coming to Krishna, to the organization, because it is Krishna who is supplying. So how Prabhupada created when Prabhupada said whole world can live, literally means that, whether it is 10 devotees community, whether it is 100 devotee community, whether it is 300 devotee community, all the communities are being maintained. Every center is growing, every center is maintaining, every center according to its capacity is preaching to different degree. So in that way, even whole world comes also, that Krishna can take care, this ISKCON organization can take care. So when we are living in the organization, what we have to concentrate is that Tandera Charana say Bhakta Sanevas, how to cooperate among the devotees and learn how to cooperate among the devotees even if it is not there, because that is what is required eternally. Not just, okay, let me tolerate for 2-3 years, let me tolerate for this lifetime. No, even after this lifetime, even after going back to Godhead, we have to live among the devotee. So that's why Prabhupada created this organization. People actually don't know, they don't have a proper concept of what is mercy of Krishna. Even in India people are very pious, no doubt. Bharata Bhumile, Manushya Janma Hoil, Janma Sarthaka Kari, Paropakar. One who has taken birth in this Bharata Bhumi is the most pious man, one who is the most fortunate man, no doubt about that. But presently what has happened, maybe because of the influence of Kali Yuga, because of the degradation, the age of degradation, so the Krishna's mercy is limited to some pious credits. Everyone wants some result. What is the meaning of Krishna's mercy? I am having this problem should be resolved. That is known as Krishna's mercy. But actually what is Krishna's mercy? That only a pure devotee knows, and only a pure devotee will be able to make others understand that what is actual Krishna's mercy. So like from Chennai, Prabhupada was moving to Nellore, another part in Andhra Pradesh. Prabhupada visited there. So someone had invited Prabhupada to establish, they had said, we'll donate a large piece of land. You can, expand your preaching mission here. So when Prabhupada was traveling, the entire Chennai railway station was flooded with people. So many people had come to send off Prabhupada. So the Prabhupada was so many garlands were put for Prabhupada that the garlands were coming up to the ears. Disciples were removing, and furthermore some more people will come and put garlands. Then finally they were able to get into the train. They got into train, so they had booked a first class compartment for Prabhupada. So there were 2-3 devotees, Satsurup Das, some 2-3 devotees were there. I'm not able to recall the devotees' names. So Prabhupada, immediately, because Prabhupada was tired, Prabhupada just laid down, and Prabhupada said, train started moving. So it was a first class compartment, so some privacy was there. So devotees said, no, we should not disturb Prabhupada, no, because Prabhupada just has laid down. So 2 Indian gentlemen, they come and stand outside the compartment gate. They wanted to have they wanted to have blessing of Srila Prabhupada. So, but disciples were very, very keen. They were very concerned that Prabhupada, is taking rest. We should not disturb him. They were standing there 10 minutes over, 15 minutes over. A devotee had to go for washroom. He opened the door. They were trying to get in. He said, no, he requested them. So he just opened one portion. He came out. Somehow he's managed, and again he went inside. But after half an hour also, they were standing there. Another devotee, he just to see them whether they are still standing, he opened the gate. They managed to get inside the compartment. It was a first class, private compartment. So the moment they got in, disciples became little disturbed. No, why are you coming? Why are you disturbing? So by hearing this commotion, Prabhupada woke up. So Prabhupada woke up, and Prabhupada said, oh, okay, anyway, they are so interested to meet Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, okay, please sit. So they sat in front of Srila Prabhupada, opposite berth. And Prabhupada said, okay, what you want? What you want to ask? They said, no, Swamiji, we just wanted your blessings. आशीर्वाद चाहिए बस. तो आशीर्वाद चाहिए बस, और कुछ नहीं, और कुछ पूछना नहीं है. नहीं, बस आपका आशीर्वाद चाहिए. और सिर्फ आपका आशीर्वाद ही चाहिए. So Prabhupada said, turn towards his disciples. Those were shaven head with the saffron robes. One was sannyasi actually. So Prabhupada turns towards them. If you want my आशीर्वाद, actually आशीर्वाद चाहिए आपको, ये देखो मेरा आशीर्वाद. यदि मैं आपको bless करूंगा, तो आप कैसे बन जाओगे? Immediately they stood up and they started running away. So their Ashirvada means some holy man, he will bless us. Some material problems, some disease, some problems, it will get resolved. But Prabhupada said, real blessing, मेरा सही आशीर्वाद है तो भक्त बन जाओगे आप, with shaven heads. So people, they don't have concept of actually what is the meaning of mercy. Actually Krishna's mercy means ultimately getting out of this material world. That is actually Krishna's mercy. So that only a pure devotee has understood, and only pure devotee can make others understand that what is actual mercy of Lord Shri Krishna. Rest, no one will be able to understand. So one of the best mercy of Krishna is his teachings, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Today is Gita Jayanti. So he has left behind the timeless wisdom in the form of Bhagavad Gita. Even after 5,000 years, this book is, throughout the world, people rever, people refer, people appreciate. As Bhagavad Gita, the principles, some people accept it as a management principle, some people accept it as psychological for whatever reason, but this is the actual mercy which Krishna has delivered, and Prabhupada mercifully translated it and given us in an understandable way, so that we can read and we can fulfill the mission of our human life and go back to Godhead. With this, I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol.